Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the LFS podcast with me, Kevin Ferris. This week on the show, it's victory in Prague as West Ham lift their first European trophy in 58 years. And as the transfer window edges closer to opening, transfer news and updates are flooding through. I'll update you on absolutely everything. Plus, with just over 24 hours until the 2023 Champions League final, I'll look ahead to the showpiece event in Istanbul. All of that and more to come on this week's LFS podcast. Hello and welcome to episode 12 and the penultimate episode of the series. Next week will be our final episode, and do put that in your calendars. Friday, June the 16th for our final episode of this series. But first, we have so much to get through, we have no time to stop and chat. And first off, West Ham ended their 43-year wait for a major trophy as Jared Bowen scored a last-minute goal to beat Fiorentina in the club's history. Absolutely wonderful for West Ham, and congratulations to the club. Of course, the Kings of East London, surely now fabulous for West Ham United, of course. European football next season, a big European trophy. First major trophy in over 43 years. First European trophy since Bobby Moore led them to that victory in 1965. Incredible for David Moyes and West Ham. They totally deserve it. And it really puts, to bed the whole argument of David Moyes should have been sacked. That's what happens when you keep a manager. He gets you to the position he does, and he gets you in a final and gets you that illustrious trophy. Fantastic. Congratulations to West Ham. And it means that there are now 8 English teams in European competitions next season. 4 in the Champions League, 3 in the Europa League, and 1 in the Conference League. Absolutely wonderful. And it is great to see. Also, West Ham will have already done their trophy parade on Thursday evening in East London. What an event that was. Now, that is our main story of the week. There isn't really much more to tell you about. All the rest is big transfer news. And let's move to the transfer updates. And let's start with one of the big stories of the day, and that is Liverpool have completed a £35 million deal to sign midfielder Alexis McAllister from Brighton on a 5-year contract. The fee could rise to £55 million for the Argentina playmaker, who helped Brighton finish 6th in the Premier League this season to qualify for Europe for the first time in their history. The 24-year-old scored 20 goals in 112 appearances for the Seagulls and helped Argentina win the 2022 World Cup. In an interview, McAllister said, "It's a dream come true and I can't wait. I want to be in from the first day of pre-season, so it's good that everything is done. I'm looking forward to meeting my teammates. It was a fantastic year for me, World Cup, what we achieved with Brighton, but now it's time to think about Liverpool. Try to be a better player and a better human being every day." Well, Alexis McAllister's signing was announced by Liverpool, and their new number 10 was at the AXA Training Centre to sign his contract this morning, on Thursday morning. A fabulous deal for Liverpool, £35 million base fee, which is an incredible fee considering he won the World Cup in literally a few months ago and has led Brighton to a fantastic position, has been one of their key players this season in a club getting to Europe. So a steal of a transfer for Liverpool, very similar to recent seasons where they've been picking up some really, really great talents for really small fees and really bargaining with those and winning more often than not, really, to be honest. £35 million is an incredible fee, and to be fair, that is less than what Liverpool have paid for Mohamed Salah in 2017. They paid £37 million for Mohamed Salah, £35 million for Alexis McAllister. Incredible. So an England player this time, and Real Madrid have agreed a deal with Borussia Dortmund to sign England midfielder Jude Bellingham for €103 million. The 19-year-old who joined Dortmund from Birmingham City in July 2020 was one of England's top performers at last year's World Cup. Bellingham wants the move and will have a medical in the next few days. The midfielder, who has been linked with some of Europe's top sides, will sign a 6-year deal. Dortmund have confirmed in a statement that the Spanish side have agreed to pay €103 million with various potential add-ons on top of that. If those add-ons are achieved, the deal could reach €134 million. That's £115 million. That would make Bellingham the most expensive England player in history. Manchester City and Liverpool were two sides keen on the midfielder, who is set to become the world's third most expensive teenager. Sensational. And what a deal that is for Real Madrid. Of course, there was a lot of speculation that English clubs would be coming in for Jude Bellingham this summer. But no, Bellingham is off to Madrid and he will play for Real Madrid from next season. 6-year contract is a proper long-term deal, of course, for Jude Bellingham. Still very, very young, of course, Bellingham. And to become the third most expensive teenager is an incredible feat for him. Wonderful. And it'll be great to see him playing in the Champions League at one of the biggest clubs in the world next season. Now, moving on to a legend of the game, an Argentina legend, Lionel Messi will join our American side Inter Miami after his exit from French champions Paris Saint-Germain. Messi has had a more lucrative offer from Saudi Arabian side Al Hilal, while a return to Barcelona became an impossibility because of financial fair play limitations. In a statement, Messi told newspapers Diario Sport and Mundo Deportivo, "I've taken the decision that I'm going to Miami. I've decided to leave Europe." He added, "It's true that I had offers from another European team, but I didn't even think about it because in Europe, my idea was only to go to Barcelona. After winning the World Cup and not being able to go to Barca, it's time to go to MLS, to live football in a different way and enjoy my day-to-day life more." Well, it is seemingly the end of witnessing Lionel Messi play in European competitions, and he will play in a completely different world of football in the MLS, and it will be a totally different vibe, of course. But of course, at 35 years of age, he needs to make his own decision, and as he should do, one of the best players ever to grace a football pitch, and he is going to the MLS to play for Inter Miami. Right, to our final story of the week in the transfer update. Asked if Wednesday's Europa Conference League triumph over Fiorentina was Rice's last appearance, Sullivan told TalkSport, "I think it has to be. We promised him he could go." Steve Rice became only the third West Ham captain to lift a trophy for the club, following in the footsteps of the great Bobby Moore, who lifted the Winners' Cup in 2019. 1965. What? And club legend Billy Moore, who led the Hammers to the FA Cup in 1975 and 1980. Rice has played 245 games and scored 15 goals for West Ham, having made his debut in the 2016-17 season after coming through the academy. And Arsenal are being heavily linked with Declan Rice, by the way, to pick up his signature. Chelsea has been one that's been muted over the last few weeks, so a lot of London interest in Declan Rice and a possible move across the city of London to come, but we'll update you on that if anything comes on that story. But still, I am sure he is still recovering from that Europa Conference League win in Prague on Wednesday evening. Well, that is the transfer updates. I'll be back in a few moments, in just a moment, with the Champions League final preview. Do not miss it. Join us in just a moment. welcome back to the LFS podcast here, episode 12 of 13 for the very first season of the podcast. And we are going to wrap up episode 12 with the Champions League final match preview. And over the next 5-10 minutes, whatever it is, I'll be talking through everything to do with the Champions League final and what I expect to happen, because it's a huge event. It's the showpiece event of the season. It's the biggest club football game in Europe, and it's set to be an exciting one in Istanbul. So first off, let's have a look and see what we need to know. Well, the clubs are meeting for the first time, and City are in sight of the treble, and the venue in the Ataturk Olympic Stadium is set for arguably the most memorable final of them all. City, of course, haven't won the Champions League ever in their history, or the equivalent. And City have been banging on the door for some time now, but this is just their second final, and they're yet to break their duck. Coach Pep Guardiola, meanwhile, is looking to join the elite group of three-time winners, having previously lifted the trophy in 2009 and 2011, and also become only the sixth man to win it with two clubs. Sandwiched between those two Barcelona triumphs was the most recent of Inter's 3 wins. Then, when it was Jose Mourinho, it's now the turn of Simone Inzaghi. Well, let's have a look at the form guide then. Manchester City in all competitions have won 4 of their last 6 games, losing and drawing just 2. One of those includes an FA Cup final win, and one of those was a win that gave them the Premier League trophy. They finished as FA Cup winners and Premier League champions in their domestic competitions. Inter, on the other hand, have won 5 of their last 6, just losing 1, and they finished 3rd in Serie A and won the Coppa Italia last week against Fiorentina. So it could be a cup double for Inter or the treble for Manchester City. It's really hanging on a knife edge for both teams. In terms of European Cup final pedigree, Manchester City have just played once in the European Cup final, and that was against Chelsea back in 2021, which they lost by 1-0. Kai Havertz with the winning goal to make Chelsea European champions. Inter, on the other hand, have a much more, let's say, a few more appearances in European Cup finals. They've played 5, with their most recent appearance coming in 2010, which is also their most recent win when they beat Bayern Munich by 2-0. They've won 3 European Cups in their history in their 5 finals, scoring 7 goals and conceding 5 in those finals. Well, before the final, both managers have had their say, and here is what they've had to say, starting with Pep Guardiola. When you reach the final of the Champions League, you have to celebrate. A final against an Italian team is not always the best gift. Honestly, Inter are competitive. After this semi-final victory, there will be a lot of compliments, but we have time to prepare mentally. Simone Inzaghi said this: "For us, it was a dream, but we have always believed in it. I'm proud to be here. Nobody has given us anything. We deserve everything that we have achieved. And now the dream to play the final has come true. It's been an extraordinary path, and winning a derby in the semi-final brought particular satisfaction." Well, Istanbul's Ataturk Olympic Stadium will host the final this Saturday, and Manchester City are the designated home team following a draw made for administrative purposes. The winners, of course, will gain a place into next season's Champions League group stage, and if they have not qualified via their domestic competition. But of course, that is irrelevant, as both Inter and Manchester City have qualified via their domestic competition. So that was basically irrelevant, that piece of information for you. But to be fair, there's still a long way to go. And to be fair, this is not it. It doesn't mean that Manchester City are going to easily win this. Let's not forget, Inter are not a team to give up. And Italian teams have probably dominated. England and Italy have probably been the dominant forces, probably in the early 2000s. Then the Spanish teams in the 2010s, mainly Real Madrid. Could we be seeing a resurgence of English and Italian teams in European competitions? Of course, 3 Italian teams in 3 European finals incredible, two of which have lost those finals, by the way. So far, Fiorentina and Roma both losing their finals to opposition from Spain and England. But, you know, I don't know. I really, it's a question of, it's more luck for Inter, being honest. City are an immovable machine at the moment. They're just incredible in terms of they just show up and completely destroy whatever team is in front of them. No matter how good they are, no matter what system they play, they just show up and destroy teams. And that is the form that you do not want to be facing, a team that you do not want to be facing going into a European final. They could become the 23rd side to win the European Cup or Champions League, and the first new name on the trophy since the 2012 winners, Chelsea, who won their first in 2012. Well, England have 14 European Cup triumphs from 25 final appearances in the UEFA Champions League era, and it's 6 wins and 9 defeats. This is the 5th of the last 6 UEFA Champions League finals to involve Premier League representation. The only one of the last 6 not to have was the 2020 final between Bayern Munich and Paris Saint-Germain. This is City's 3rd European final. They beat Polish club Górnik Zabrze 2-1 at Vienna's Prater Stadion in the 1970 European Cup Winners' Cup final, and of course losing to Chelsea in their 2nd final, which was the Champions League final in 2021. Well, victory for Inter would take them onto 4 European Cups, level with Ajax and behind only Real Madrid, Milan, Bayern and Liverpool, and Barcelona. They are currently on 3 alongside City's local rivals, Manchester United. Inter are the last Italian side to win the Champions League, winning it in 2010 against Bayern Munich, with Juventus losing in 2015 and 2017, the most recent Italian appearances. Italian clubs have triumphed in 12 European Cup finals, losing 16. In the UEFA Champions League era, their record is 5 wins and 8 defeats. Wow, there you go. It's just incredible, to be fair, and it's going to be a huge final, no matter what happens. Either one of these teams, City winning their first, or Inter adding to that list of ones they've already won, and adding to the list for Italian teams as well, who have significant pedigree and have history against English sides. Of course, the last European final between an English team, or a Champions League final between an English team and an Italian team, the Italian team triumphed back in 2007. AC Milan, the Milan rivals, faced off against Liverpool in revenge of their 2005 defeat, which was the previous appearance for both English and Italian teams in a Champions League final. Anyway, the Champions League final then was the big showpiece event of the season. It's the biggest game in European club football, and it officially rounds off the season in most countries. The vast majority of European countries, their season comes to an end this weekend, and what a way to end it. Manchester City or Inter will lift the Champions League this Saturday, and you can watch it live here on LFS, 8 o'clock on Saturday, June the 10th, this Saturday, here on LFS. And if you don't want to miss that, you can go to our social media pages as well, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at LFstreams2, to follow us on all of those to stay up to date with when we go live on YouTube and any more information. Plus, we'll keep you up to date with all the transfers this summer. Any big transfer news, do follow us on all those socials, as that is where you'll hear it first. Well, that is it for this week's LFS podcast. I'm back with the final episode of the season next week, episode 13. Unlucky for some, and hopefully lucky for us. And it will be back, of course, in the new season. And we have a big announcement as well on Saturday. Saturday at 4 o'clock, we'll be telling you what's coming next on LFS. So do not miss that as well. 4 o'clock on Saturday. But for me, here on the LFS podcast, episode 12, thank you very much for watching. And we'll be back with a final episode next Friday at 5 o'clock.